everybody. Pleasure to be here. Thanks again for the opportunity, because for me it's a pleasure actually to share with you the path that I have experienced so far in terms of strategic finance business partner. That's the reason why the subject today is the evolutionary path and trying to make in finance an adventure and shape our destiny. Let me start where I work. Actually, I'm the finance director of the Southern European region in CEP. CEP is a company engaged in the pallet pooling, meaning that, as you can see here, we are basically, we have created a circular economy around the pallet to move goods, especially in the FMCG market. And actually this, first of all, allowed me to be in a very dynamic environment. And because basically what we do is supporting the manufacturers of goods along their supply chain. So they produce the goods, they put on our pallets, the pallets go to retailers, and then we collect the pallets, empty pallets at the retailers, and take care of the pallets at our service centers in order to handle them, inspect them, and reconditioning. And one of the most important advantage that we can bring to our customers, especially in the FMCG sector, is of course we can allow them to transport their goods more efficiently in a sustainable way, and also more safely, because actually we are expert in this specific sector. So as for us, pallet is our somehow product, but what we bring is a service. And as I said from the very beginning, that has been a very dynamic environment because, first of all, of the huge opportunity from a commercial perspective, because basically we can approach and convert customers used to use their own pallets and move to ours. So there is a lot of commercial activities behind. And also now with, you know, all the new trends about circular economy and sustainability, we can play our part in the supply chain. In terms of experience, my professional background is I'm a finance guy. What I could develop, and I have developed a little bit more in the recent years, well, starting from, you know, controlling and planning, doing some commercial and supply chain finance, so somehow going into the expertise. And now recently, for more than 4 years, I have joined this role of business partner. What does it mean? That now I'm a little bit more exposed and requested to look after strategy, returns on investment, cash generation, also business transformation and business excellence. So why today? Basically, I'm here, you know, to talk about strategic finance business partnering. And now a couple of questions I still have to answer, and along the path I will try to. So sometimes I ask myself, I am really a strategic one and strategic for whom? And then when it comes to partnering with the business, yeah, but driving for what? So those are more or less the main questions I always need to cope in my role. But probably also there is this most challenging question about somehow who wants to be Robin, because certainly in the business I'm not, and I cannot act like Batman. I'm not actually the superhero, meeting all the customers, managing everything, even if I'm responsible for a P&L. And probably I act more like a partner of the superhero, let's say. Now it's very challenging because who wants to be Robin? Well, not if you are a kid, probably this is not your dream job. But if we put it in a different perspective, who wants to be the boy wonder, which is the best sidekicker ever, Robin for Batman. So I think that probably Batman cannot be Batman without Robin. And so somehow this is the analogy I like to bring to you. Now, let's have a journey. So let's start from the elevator. So the CFO on the elevator, I really like also this imagine as well, because, you know, as a CFO role, we have seen that there has been somehow an evolution or a revolution of the role, because it really depends on where the business is going and what the business is asking for. We started from, you know, being somehow in finance, accountant and controller with very specific functional skills, then trying to move to the change management and bring more, you know, idea and design, acting like architecture or designer, quite recently, now we have been challenged also to give recommendations. So defining KPIs, a scorecard, and trying to tell the story behind cause and effect. So very engaged in the communication. And finally, now moving to the strategic perspective, process facilitator, trying to join the dots between different functions, including forecast, for example, working a lot with commercial and supply chain, but also moving in the simplification of process, bringing more technology and digitalization. And finally, as strategic partner, things like agility, flexibility, and even excellent strategic execution. So decision-making, risk management, and even more than risk, trying to find out and seek opportunities for the business. So basically, this is something that, one of my most important business partner told me. So my internal customer, it's the vice president of the region, said to me that, he wants the CFO to be on the elevator with him, because the finance business partner for him is the one coming with him to the floor where he needs to go. Now, if I want to change a little bit more, that good sentence already sounded like a compliment, even if, again, very Robin oriented. I think that the real answer for a CFO on the elevator is navigating through our competencies, because it's true that we have seen an evolution in terms of our role from only functional skills down to now agility, transformation, flexibility, and excellence. I think that the answer now from the evolutionary CFO is not like saying, okay, I come with you on the elevator. Is probably, as a finance business partner, we know which floor to go, depending on your needs, your strategy, and your situation. That is, for me, the final purpose of our role. Be on the elevator and somehow helping our partners to navigate, considering our different competencies, which means that probably we will never only look after strategic. We will never be only on the strategic discussion. We always need to rely on our basement in terms of functional skills, Excel, for example, or, accounting, and trying also to cover all the other competencies like communication, like influencing, and like, architecting and designing. How we can do that? So this is more or less, to make it simple, my ABC plus the D. I really like this somehow summary about, being approachable and accountable. I'm a P&L owner, but not really and fully responsible of everything with a complete visibility. So I need to cope with that. That's why I need to be accountable, but also approachable in order to open up the discussion. Bold with benefit, because at the end of the day, whatever we bring must be sustainable and remarkable as a solution. Otherwise, we will never somehow differentiate from any other, finance guy. And finally, very important, collaboration with creative thinking, something that in the past, probably for finance, it was not even considered or requested. Doing something with somebody else in the function or cross-function, being open-minded, thinking differently, and thinking more creatively. And finally, very important, this is probably the real differentiator for finance at the end of the day, is decide and deliver. So all of this in action, again, what does it mean? Approachability and accountability, of course, it must entail some level of authenticity and authentic influencing. Bold with benefit, of course, we need to find solution built to last. Critical contributor in the way we collaborate and we think. And finally, dot joiners, as I said at the very beginning, like helping people come together, but also at the end, and even more important, doers. So people that actually not only tell a story, but created the story and the history. Now, in terms of strategic finance business partnering, now for value. So at the end, as I said, deliver and excel, how we can prove that when we bring value. What finance brings? Well, there is this prejudgment about only numbers, so main financial processes, but I think that we are even more than just financial processing. Of course, we are completely engaged and in the process of posting and closing for the month end, forecasting and reporting for the budget and quarterly forecast and rolling forecast, and in particular now moving to the filling and reviews of reports. So what actually we are engaged is managing the numbers, but also explaining all the numbers. I really think that we are even more in our evolutionary path, because more than just financial process, probably we bring credibility. And credibility, what does it mean? That for the posting and the closing, flawless execution, somehow no noise behind the month-end closure. Let's try to get the numbers somehow correct and clear. Interpretation and translation, because forecasting and reporting, sometimes is not a rocket science, unfortunately, and you always need to manage different expectations, different balance between commercial and supply chain or production. And finally, what I really think is making the difference is the call for action. So once we got the numbers, so once we building up the numbers and we somehow bring numbers into life, then we need to give numbers a purpose. And a purpose is actually the actions that we can call. So the perspective we bring to our business, to our partners, in order to take their correct action and somehow executing an efficient and effective decision-making process. So as a summary, the strategic finance business partnering is more than just numbers. It's certainly more than just looking for efficiencies and cost advantage. As a finance strategic business partner, we certainly need to, strive for more. And more it can be, of course, bringing intentions, decisions, actions, bringing effectiveness, accuracy, predictability, and connectivity, especially the last two very important now in a world of uncertainty and with more challenges. And finally, again, the value, so valuable solutions. Now, all of this to make the finance an adventure is not certainly an easy one. And I think that I would like to share with you the 4 dimensions I would like to share and I'm working on. So we got probably 4 influencing factors for an intelligent enterprise for value. The first one somehow is really based still on controls on the past, but as we say, we need to have 360-degree and 360 perspective. So automation very important in order to have efficiency, and the application of all the automation in order to have even more productivity. If we can even bring more with current system or with enhanced system in order to ensure good level of controls. So somehow ensure a vision, ensure a trust, and of course using our resources. On the other end, on the right, you see the calculated risk perspective, which is actually somehow the environment where now we need to play our role as strategic business partner. And what does that mean? Of course, autonomy. So autonomy in the decision making that will allow us to be more effective. And finally, as I said, as a subject and title of this session, augmented CFO. So even more solution, not only one solution. It's been a while that I'm requesting now to provide scenarios, not only one scenario on the forecasting, but different scenario is a kind of set of scenarios, set of options in order to take decision. That's the idea of augmented CFO, a CFO that actually can play in different modes, and of course in different scenarios with different options. And of course the key words here certainly is about behavior, the way you behave, which makes real the difference, your talent, but especially the talent from your team, and also getting focused on the end user. So the ones at the end needs to use the number and actually interpret the number and also somehow help to deliver the numbers at the end. This final section is about Finance 4.0, which is somehow for me, when I think about 4.0 means the future. So not only think about the now and even not the next, but even the new from an augmented CFO. So a Finance 4.0 roadmap, of course, should answer to the question about where we are, but also more important, where we want to be in order to do the right thing. So now, next and new should be used and should be set up in order to do the right thing. That it can really depends on the different situation you are with your business, in the different situation you are on your responsibility, your roles, and the way you interact with other functions in the company. Of course, this requires a balanced view, very important, because you can push on the quality of the vision, like, again, understanding the needs of your internal customers, the wish. Your imagine is also very important as strategic finance business partner. Certainly, it is required that first of all you walk the talk, but also people feel your presence, which is very important. And of course, always bring in and get your strategic point of view. But it's also important the quantity perspective. So in terms of planning, it's also important because, of course, we need to cope with budget, and also we need to cope with the challenges from the uncertain environment. Time, resource, and talent, extremely important. Validate and execute all the scenario, and finally, running pilots maybe when you need to innovate, and try then to scale. So playing a little bit safer at the very beginning, trying to piloting some new initiative, observe if is delivering as expected, and then scaling to the whole picture. So this is the summary for the Augmented CFO. Of course, again, looking at the Horizon 1 on now, which is extremely based on collaboration. Horizon 2 next, that certainly requires certain level of creativity. And finally, to aim for the Horizon number 3, which is inspiration and transformation of your function, of your role, and of your company. And of course, the key word here is vision. And we need to start with something. Of course, will be data. So because we work with data, so data collection. But then everything starts. So from data collection to information management, again, giving number purpose. Knowledge supervise. Once you somehow have a great command of the way you manage your P&L and your company, then you can really supervise the whole piece somehow in a helicopter view, as an analogy as well. And finally, wisdom nurture. When you are a leader, when you are a visionary, of course, what is more important is your wisdom, your judgment, and now you feed that. And then you can assess your decision. You always, get the feedback, self-assessment, what has done well, what has done wrong. Now, for me, last slide to share with you is what is our journey about. I put some, comment or some statement from, this more than 10 years experience. Of course, leadership is very important, and you need to be yourself. So when it comes to that's the reason why I chose the Augmented CFO. Now for me, somehow, the way I really like to present myself, introduce myself. So identify somehow a role model you want to bring. Never promise, but always deliver. Of course, we always need to promise, yes. So probably is never over promise, but certainly always over deliver. Certainly, this is not even an open heart surgery where we are involved, at least in my business. So always consider this. Everything is very urgent. Everything is very important. But of course, we are not here, involved in open heart surgery. So don't make the thing too big and too noisy. Very important to understand, if you have the opportunity, and I would suggest that you certainly need to have, according to my experience, the opportunity to have allowed mistakes. Allowed mistakes by your boss, allowed mistakes by your company, because we really need it. If we want to succeed and if we want to go for the excellence, we really need somehow to have space for failure. And again, this is more than healthy competition. Clearly, this is competition. This is business. So, especially in my company, as I described, the environment is very dynamic, but must be healthy. So, of course, we are here to share. We are here to learn. We are not here to fight. And love your clients, very important. As I said at the very beginning, if you want to be, the best sidekick ever, certainly you need to make sure that you show that you love your customer, you really like to work with them, even internal customers, or even more important, internal customers, and get our right to participate. So one of the best gifts I always receive is when I'm invited, not to a party but to a meeting that can be challenging, but of course allows me to understand that my role really matters and my opinion is very important. And finally, as I said, from the storytelling, we certainly need to move to story doing. And to do that, we cannot wait and see anymore as finance a role. We certainly need to contribute more. And of course, one of the reasons why I like to share with you this evolutionary path at the end of the day should go into that direction. So from storytelling on dot joiners, even to the doers, and somehow making the history for our function and for our company and business. Don't forget to celebrate at the end. This is always important. And of course, if you can celebrate, means that you have delivered great results.